And Laura, I bring up the terrorism angle of this with the understanding that we don't have official confirmation of that. But if this is the suspicion, should we expect additional border closings beyond what's happening right now in the immediate Niagara Falls region?
I think it's a very fluid situation, as you heard the Prime Minister say. I will say Canada's Public Safety Minister, Dominic LeBlanc, just described this as a violent incident. That does suggest, this was an intentional act that is a deep source of concern for Canadian and U.S. authorities. He said that any time a piece of infrastructure as essential as a border crossing is targeted, that is a huge source of concern for U.S. and Canadian governments. So they are talking, they're speaking very closely, the American side, with the Canadians. They're sharing intelligence, and they're trying to understand what happened. What will happen next at border crossings remains an open question, but it does seem that this is being taken extremely seriously, all the way to the top of the Canadian government, with the Prime Minister making a statement in our House of Commons today.
Well, Laura, tell us what we know right now when it comes to the border crossings and those closures. As we understand it, 4 bridges are closed, and as of right now, the airports are still open and operational.
That's right, yes. As far as we know, the airports are still operational, at least on the Canadian side. There are 4 border crossings that are closed, and it is a source of grave concern for Canadian officials. The Public Safety Minister also said he would be speaking with the U.S. Homeland Security Secretary soon, that he's speaking with the Canada Border Services Agency, that they're getting information and intelligence from all over to try and get to the bottom of what happened here. He was unwilling yet to confirm any casualties linked to the incident, but describing it as a violent act, certainly it appears that we're getting close to that confirmation. And both he and the Prime Minister describing it as an extremely serious incident. The Prime Minister saying it's going to occupy him for the rest of the day. So they are now, the Prime Minister had to excuse himself from the House of Commons so that he could go and join more briefings on this. So they are absolutely seized with this issue. And I know that it is Thanksgiving tomorrow, so for Americans who are traveling, I would be very aware that there may be further measures at border crossings and airports.
Well, I think that's why a lot of folks are on edge, particularly if it does have any major disruptions to folks' travel plans. And it gets to a broader question here, Laura, and this is kind of more of a broader question about just the security of the Canadian and U.S. border. At least here in the U.S., as I'm sure you know, most of the political discourse is usually about our southern border. But there have been some questions, particularly when you go a little bit further west, as to how fluid some of those borders are and whether there should be more security measures in place to prevent whether it's terrorism, drug trafficking, or anything else.
Yes, that's right. We are already seeing that dialogue starting in Canada. As the Prime Minister came out in the House of Commons to make his statement, our leader of the opposition, the Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, immediately asked him what he is doing about security at the border. Is this something that needs to be looked at in the wake of this? If the reports are true about, injuries and casualties, then clearly there were perhaps not enough measures taken to prevent something like this from occurring. So I think as the situation unfolds and we learn more, those questions will certainly continue to be asked, and they are already being asked at a political level here at this point. But, I will say that, Canada and the U.S., we are known to have a very close relationship. I think we pride ourselves on the fact that we can move relatively freely across the border, at least at land border crossings, and it will be interesting to see if this results in a further tightening of that border.